Hello, my fellow nerds, and welcome to the Nerd Empire. I hope you all are having a fantastic day today, and I hope you all will enjoy today's reaction video. With that being said, let's get right into it, shall we? Alright, this one is by Sydney Watson, and it is called "The Era of Men in Women's Sports is Over." So let's see what this video has to say.
If you think trans athletes playing in women's and girls' sports is a problem, then you're both a dumb and a hateful piece of...
No, we're not dumb or hateful. We just live in reality where biologically men have an advantage over women in basically anything athletic. And it is unfair, completely unfair, for a biological man to go up against a biological woman in their sport that they have worked and trained for years to compete in. So, no. I'm sorry, but the trans women should not be competing against biological women. It is completely unfair.
It's crazy how swearing at us and calling us names doesn't change our mind. How about that?
I'm sorry to say, but, I live in reality and I use logic.
Hi, my name is Sydney. Welcome back to hell. And as per usual, before we launch in, today's video is sponsored by Fume. So I have been brought a lot of joy recently, bringing all of you stories about this sort of collective return to normalcy after so many years of doing the exact opposite. Everyone seemed to completely lose their minds for a while there. I really do think that the big sneeze broke so many people's brains. Remember when they filled in skate parks because people might get a sniffle? I remember.
Pepperidge Farm remembers.
Anyway.
Wait, they filled in skate parks because people were worried that they would get sick? What? What the fuck? I don't skate, but to fill in skate parks because you're afraid of people getting sick is pretty fucking stupid.
Obviously, the current state of things is not perfect, not by any stretch of the imagination, and weird things do still continue to happen, but I do love seeing everything seemingly moving in a more logical direction, at least for the time being. And this has been happening more and more and more recently with relation to the transgender movement, and more specifically with relation to men in women's sports. And July has had...
I'm sorry, but everything in reality needs to move with a form of logic. Because I get that you want to work off your feelings, but 9 out of 10 times feelings don't really get you anywhere in the real world. You need to work with logic and you need to work in reality to get somewhere.
Just a bunch of developments. It's been a busy month for transphobia. What can I say? The latest being that the US Olympics and Paralympic Committee have officially banned men from competing in...
US Olympic and Paralympic officials bar transgender women from Olympic women's sports. Completely fair.
Women's events. According to a policy change on their website and a letter sent out to sporting bodies, the organization said that it has an obligation to comply with Trump's executive order, signed back in February, that is designed to keep men out of women's sports.
Okay, the one thing I don't understand when it comes to him signing these official documents or whatever, why does he use a different pen or writing utensil for every single one? He can't sign multiple things with the same pen? I don't get the logic behind that. If somebody could explain that to me, that'd be great.
That executive order, among other things, threatens to pull funding from organizations that allow trans-identified males to participate in female-only competitions.
Female athletes have been forced onto the front lines, and men claiming to be girls have stolen more than 3,500 victories. That's a lot. And invaded more than 11,000 competitions.
And there were even transgender women who won Woman of the Year, which made no fucking sense. It is called Woman of the Year, meaning, a biological woman, and you're letting a biological man take that from them. It makes no logical sense.
designed for women.
The left are also taking this about as well as you'd expect.
The Olympic Committee has barred transgender women from participating in women's sports in an effort to comply with a Trump executive order, and it's bullshit.
I was a journalist and I covered this issue for a long time, and it is one that both is discriminatory and also thwarts research that we have about gender, athletic performance, and transition.
My favorite thing about these...
See, here's the thing. You can't discount somebody... You can't discount the fact that somebody who has benefited off being a man for over a decade, maybe over 2 decades, and let them compete in a women's sport. They have benefited off being a man, which means they've benefited off being bigger, stronger, and more athletic. Them being on hormone therapy or whatever else comes with transgender for maybe a year or 2 or whatever isn't going to make him perform on the same level as a woman. That person is still going to do better because they have been a man for the majority of their life. Excuse me, I really need to use the bathroom. So I will be right back. All right, I'm back. Sorry about that. Okay, we'll get back into the video here.
people is how they so obviously do not give a crap about women. They do not care about female athletes. They only care about this perceived victim group. And honestly, I think that they are
I think the only reason that they allowed a lot of this to happen was to pander so they can get brownie points or some shit like that. And honestly, I don't think that was the smart and logical choice to make. I think that just snowballed into absolute fucking chaos and to the dumbass shit that we have now that we seem to just let happen without consequence.
What I want all of you to dip your brains in and absorb about this situation is that the U.S. Olympic and Paralympic Committee oversees about 50 or so governing sports bodies, and it has instructed them to also comply here. Without getting too in the weeds on this, because it is a little bit confusing who governs who and what guidelines people have to follow and yada yada yada, some of them have already been following other guidance about this, like USA Track and Field for example, and others will start enforcing new restrictions in the coming months, like USA Fencing, which will only allow females in the women's category, and everyone else will compete in the men's. So, okay. I mean, this one's not a total slam dunk, but I guess we gotta take the wins as they come. The they-thems are the men's team's problem now. That sounds so wrong. Men's teams? Men's team. Men's team? No, because it's possessive. The men's team's problem. The men's team's problem. The man team has a problem. I don't know. We also still have the International Olympics Committee doing all sorts of dumb stuff, especially after all of the Amin Khalif drama, who some of you might remember from the Paris Olympics, the boxer who is allegedly male, and that information has reportedly been confirmed with leaked lab information. So, you know, there's that. Do you guys remember when the International Olympics Committee wanted to fight anyone who argued this point? That was a lot of fun. That was a fun period of time. The point is, in my opinion, this ban is actually great news. And more than that, it actually kind of signals this growing shift where we're seeing a lot of common sense policies being enacted and taking place that will protect women and girls and stop men from invading our spaces. We are seeing sanity return all over the place, from the Olympics to college campuses to high schools to even niche sports like fishing. Yes, I learned, researching for this video, that the fishing people have rules about this. So that's cool. I really do think that the fishing people are very cool and interesting. But you want to know what else I think is really cool and
Yeah, when it comes to, you know, things like fishing, chess, or any of those other types of games that they supposedly have in the Olympics or whatever, those are the type of things I don't really care if they have trans or in whatever in them, because there's no athleticism to compete. It's just intellect. Like with chess, it's just intellect. And for fishing, well, it's basically just patience and knowing where to fish. So there's no real reason to care about gender when it comes to those things.
Interesting. Stopping your bad habit, which is why today's video is sponsored by Fume.
Ad.
It's Hot Girl Summer. Or
Ad.
Hot Boy
I like her
Summer,
necklace.
if you're a boy. And you want to know what's a tenet of Hot People 2025? Being healthy, of course, and looking after those little lungs of yours. Because you only get one set of them. This isn't a sci-fi movie. So rather than inhaling gross chemicals and smoke, why not try trading one bad habit for a better one? Fume. Fume is this nifty award-winning device designed to stop any hand-to-mouth habit. It uses no heating components, no vapor, and no batteries. Instead, all you have to do is pop your preferred flavored core into your device and breathe. And Fume has a huge range of these cores, with options like crisp mint or my newest favorite, sparkling grapefruit. Like, look at how pink and cute these are. And guess what? If you are a tropical kind of person, Fume just released their newest flavor, mango, just in time for summer, and let me tell you, this smells so good. Fume also has such a good range of devices and add-ons now, like their Solano Fume, this magnetic base to hold your device, and their newly dropped Fume toppers. And it's pretty straightforward, these fit over your mouthpiece for an elevated experience. So if you too want to be kind to your lungs and do a Hot Person Year 2025, then click the link in the description, scan the QR code on screen, or go to tryfume.com/Sydney. And don't forget to use code Sydney to get your free Fume topper when you order a journey pack. We had a similar ban come into effect.
NCAA bans trans women from women's sports in reversal of 15-year policy. The largest college sports governing body in the country made the change following President Trump's executive order banning trans girls from girls' school sports.
In February of 2025, when the National Collegiate Athletic Association, that is a mouthful, I tell you now, the country's largest college sports governing body, outright banned transgender athletes from women's sports. Now, this is an interesting one in my opinion because it probably partially gave way to what also happened a few weeks back when the University of Pennsylvania agreed to ban trans-identified males from women's sports, rescind Leah Thomas's titles and awards, and
Yeah, I think that was a good idea to do because, you know, you're basically letting a biological man steal away the awards that would have gone to these women who worked for years, if not a decade or more, to hopefully win a title and then to ultimately lose it to a biological male. It is unfair and it is disrespectful and it is very disheartening. Like how are you supposed to get motivation when you have to compete against if you're a woman, you have to compete against a biological male? It's like, how are you supposed to get motivated?
and apologized to all the female swimmers who were affected by its insane policies over the last number of years. As most of you likely know by now, transgender swimmer Leah Thomas caused a ton of controversy by not only competing on the UPenn swim team against women, but also winning competitions and robbing actual women of their titles. There is so much terribleness that went on here, such as female swimmers being forced to change in Thomas's presence, feeling very uncomfortable around this intact male, and that's obviously just one example. There was a lot of ickiness that took place.
Well, I'm sure everyone knows who the wonderful 6'4.5" giant Leah Thomas is. He was my teammate. He went on and obviously tied Riley at the NCAA championship, which everyone saw, the ridiculous photo of them together on the podium stand. But he was my teammate, and my university, the University of Pennsylvania, told us if we ever spoke out against him being on the team, that we would never be able to find a job, that we would be painted as a hateful, disgusting bigot for the rest of our lives. They even compared not wanting to undress in the locker room with him 18 times per week as not wanting to undress with someone based on their race in the 1960s.
That was said to you by employees of University of Pennsylvania?
Yes, they said this is the next civil rights movement. You don't want to be known as those bigots in the 1960s that wanted to segregate locker rooms based on people's race.
I think the thing that I will never get over with relation to the trans issue is how men exposing themselves to women in locker rooms and bathrooms and this kind of thing kind of got glossed over completely. because that person doing the exposing identifies as a woman, and then we ended up with terms like girl dick. It's just genuinely so wild to me that we have seemingly come out of this period of time where saying, actually, women don't have male genitalia makes a group of people lose their minds. I don't know what to do with that.
It's like people have collectively decided to delete common sense biology and science out of their mind and just try and live in their own fantasy world, and then get upset and mad when people challenge their fantasy world. And it's just like, what? It's baffling. It's like they put you in a permanent stun lock because you don't know what to say because of their stupidity.
So, actual woman is a term often used by trans exclusionary radical feminists.
No, it's not. It is not. An actual woman is somebody who has a vagina, a uterus, fallopian tubes, produces eggs, produces milk from their breasts, who has, I believe it's XX chromosome, I think XY. I think XY is male. I can't remember which one is which. But they have that chromosome. And they are the only ones that can get pregnant and give birth. That is an actual woman. Not somebody who is pretending to be a woman who is biologically a male.
You may also hear them use the term adult human female. TERFs have this bioessentialist way of thinking in which they define actual women strictly based off of biological sex assumptions.
Yes, because that's how it has been since the beginning of human evolution. There is, amongst human, there is nothing more or nothing less than man and woman. There is no other sex. There is no other gender. The only thing we can say is that there is a intersex, which they're like less than 1% of the population are born with, which is the combination of both male and female genitalia or biology or whatever. But there is nothing more than male and female. There has never been. And I don't think there ever will be, because that is how evolution has made us. And you can't really, disprove evolution because we are living proof of it.
At birth and having certain reproductive anatomy like a uterus and ovaries.
Anyway, on the Leah Thomas front, for years, this was a person who was backed by many people at UPenn and the university in general. Meanwhile, the women who tried to speak out and say something and say, hey, this is not fair, were shamed and bullied and probably harassed. But that has ended. And honestly, I think what the university had to do here was akin to a little bit of a humiliation ritual, a little bit of a struggle session. And you can think I'm a terrible person for saying this, but I'm here for it. UPenn was instructed to restore to the female athletes all individual UPenn Division I swimming records, titles, or similar recognitions, which were misappropriated by male athletes allowed to compete in female categories, issuing a public statement saying that the university will comply with Title IX and will not allow males to compete in female athletic programs, and send a personalized letter of apology to any female swimmer who was affected. And they did, because they probably don't want to lose their federal funding. And of course, here as well, liberals have reacted to this exactly the way most of you probably imagine.
Crazy is conservatives on Twitter or whatever other site are going, oh my God, yes, thank God, something has finally been justified. Get these men out of women's sports. And this Riley Gaines bitch that got 5th place, and she still is 5th place, is like celebrating like she won an Olympic medal. Now, I don't know about you, but I have enough going on in my life where I don't really keep up with college athletics unless they're a sport that I either played or I like watching. And I've never really given a about who finishes 5th, 6th, 7th in a women's swimming meet. And I'm sure the people that are mad about this never once cared about women swimming before Leah Thomas got 4th place.
I watch a tremendous amount of leftist content, so it's just not very often these days that something genuinely bothers me and gets under my skin. But this guy made me so mad. Because it's certainly one thing to be a woman who is ideologically captured by intersectional feminism and liberal feminism, but it's quite another to be a man who is arguing this hard for something that doesn't affect him. Colin is definitely attacking actual women here very hard, and I think we know why. He really likes the girl Dingle Dangles. Now, while these have been the major events that have...
Normally, when it comes to guys like this, they, like, a lot of the guys who are on the extreme feminist side, they're basically just trying to get brownie points so they can basically just sleep with the ladies, which I find very weird because a lot of them are just blue-eyed monsters, or just blue-haired monsters, sorry.
Taken place recently, they are absolutely not the only ones. And the Trump administration and other governments around the country have been pushing this issue extremely hard. When I say pushing it, I mean like pushing it away, pushing it into the depths of somewhere dark and scary. In early July, the Justice Department filed a lawsuit against California for allowing males to compete in female events. I mean, I do find this quite ironic, given that only recently the state's governor, Gavin Newsom, was saying this.
Would you say no men in female sports?
Well, I think it's an issue of fairness. I completely agree with you on that. So that's easy to call out, the unfairness of that.
This dude will say anything to get elected as president somewhere down the line. No joke, he would sell his parents if it meant that he could get slightly further ahead. That is 100% the vibe that I get from Gavin Newsom. The lawsuit says that California's current policies on the issue violate Title IX. Title IX, for those of you who don't know, is a law that prohibits sex-based discrimination or harassment in educational programs or activities. Anyway, the Justice Department said that California's rules are not only illegal and unfair, but also demeaning, signaling to girls that their opportunities and achievements are secondary to accommodating boys, and honestly, like, yeah, basically. I'm also astounded that Pam Bondi and Lisa McMahon, which, by the way this lady's name is spelled, that is totally not pronounced McMahon, but okay, Americans. They made this video that was borderline threatening others.
When she said McMahon, all I thought was, McMahon's wife from, WWE.
States that if they don't start protecting women, they're going to find themselves in the same position. So, again, very interesting. This is certainly a change of pace.
We've made it very clear, only women in women's sports under Title IX. An example in California, a boy who was in track and field. He would have lost every race. Yet in women's sports, he won over 36 medals. Those medals should be returned to the women, as well as no boys will be allowed in women's locker rooms. No longer. We have sued Maine. We're in litigation with Minnesota. We've sent multiple letters, and if you do not comply,
hey, my home state,
you're next. The Department of Education and the Department of Justice, we will protect girls in girls' sports.
The U.S. Department of Education has actually opened a series of investigations into other situations at universities and schools around the country around this issue, reviving old lawsuits where female athletes tried to defend their rights but were ultimately shot down. Also, in mid-July, we had the Florida Attorney General issuing a demand to U.S. Masters Swimming, which is a non-profit that offers swim competitions, events, and training, to ban males from women's competitions and entering women's locker rooms. Why this is still a thing, I have no idea. They threatened legal action if the organization does not reverse course.
This is not acceptable. It does not fly with Florida law. We will use every tool at our disposal, from our civil rights laws to our anti-discrimination laws to our consumer protection laws, to ensure that we are protecting women and girls.
Then we had several sporting bodies from
I don't know why that was only coming out of one of my headphones.
Sports, as well as female athletes themselves, continuing to push back on this issue. In early July, veteran cyclist Julie Cutts-Peterson refused to take the podium next to the trans-identified competitor who had beaten her during the race. Peterson claims that USA Cycling failed to disclose that a male would be competing against the women, which a lot of them were very leery about to begin with and wouldn't have competed had they known. A trans-identified male called Sadie Schreiner, what a name, is suing Princeton because the university barred the athlete from participating in the women's 200-meter race at the Larry L.
Well, good, because that trans female probably would have, beat them all. It's not fair to the women.
This invitational.
Look, you can't comply with a minority of people just to make them happy at the detriment of the majority. Because it is severely unfair if you just, comply and, just try and make happy the one person out of 10. Like, how is that fair to the other 9? It makes no sense to do that at the detriment to the majority of people. It makes no logical sense.
In May 2025, once again in early July, because I guess July is the month of transphobia, a group of teen girls decided to sue the state of Oregon over its laws that allow trans athletes to compete in girls' sports. 2 of the girls, Maddie and Sophia, refused to compete against a trans athlete back in April and subsequently forfeited their event. If we look abroad, we know that the UK recently legally defined what a woman is. It's so embarrassing that even had to be done, but good, I guess. And that's...
It is really sad that we have come to the point where where a person of legal power has to write down into, this sort of thing, what a woman is. It is sad that we have gotten to that point in society. Like, how can you people not know what an actual biological woman is? Are we that far gone as a society?
Ruling has absolutely started affecting all of this, with some sports bodies basically saying, yep, sorry, you can't compete if you've got the dingle dangles, no competing against the women. No. So obviously, like I have already said throughout this video, the response to all of these situations has been basically the same across the board from progressives. This is so discriminatory, it's so bad.
If you think trans athletes playing in women's and girls' sports is a problem, then you're both a dumb and a hateful piece of shit. And let me explain why. Number 1, there are less than 10 trans athletes in the NCAA. That's right, less than 10 in collegiate sports.
And I also keep seeing this argument being made that female athletes just need to suck it up because there are so few trans-identified male athletes competing against them. But like other sane people have pointed out, this is a totally crazy position to take. I saw a comment left on one of Amir Odom's videos that basically said that implying this is not a problem because there are so few trans athletes is like saying only a small percentage of athletes use steroids and therefore they're not really impacting sport enough for it to be a concern. And yeah, that's about the size of it. This is such a weird position to take with relation to women's sports and how this might affect the women who have to compete against men, because although the vast majority of women probably won't, there are women who do, and it's not fair on them. Then there are the former athletes who say crap like this.
But I think any high-level athlete who has something to say about trans athletes is a BITCH, and they have BITCH mentality. Regardless of what sport I'm playing, I really don't care what the gender of my opponent is. It really doesn't matter to me. If they win, that means I have work to do. I didn't train hard enough. I didn't train the right things hard enough. I didn't get in the gym and push myself hard enough.
Lady, it is, she just doesn't understand that we men have a biological advantage, a big advantage over women. Like I said earlier, we are bigger, we are stronger, we are faster, we are just overall athletically, for a lack of a better word, athletically better. That is why men were not really allowed in women's sports, because Otherwise, women wouldn't really have a chance to win at what they are doing. And that's just not fair to those who have worked hard for what they want to achieve.
Regardless, I still lost, and I need to do better.
Imagine trying to make this argument about contact sports. Like, oh yeah, I'll just do better next time once my face grows back. You'll just do better next time? You will? Okay. Yeah, so how about you go do some MMA, and then you come back and tell us how you can out-train that man who punched you in the face. Ugh, absolute freaking mongoloid. Anyway, despite the screaming from the usual suspects, I really genuinely am so happy to see things finally trending in a logical direction. And honestly, I actually am really glad to see that some of these sports bodies are doing these things and changing their policies voluntarily, because they are realizing that this is in fact unfair to their female competitors. I really love making these kinds of videos where I rapid fire situation after situation after situation that hopefully paints a picture that things are changing, that things are positively changing, even if it is incremental, because at least for me, it gives me hope that maybe at some point in the very near future, we will finally be back to doing things from a rational standpoint. And regardless of what all the bleeding hearts have to say, in my opinion, female athletes are entitled to compete against other female athletes. And they're entitled to do so in an environment that is safe and fair for them, and not have their titles taken away from them, not have to forfeit and lose competitions because they don't want to go up against men. And in the end, although this issue never ever should have gotten to this point and never should have gone this far, I am really glad to see that it seems like we are finally turning a corner, and hopefully we can in fact go back to the status quo. Now on that note, and before I open the floor to all of you, this is just a reminder, check out Fume using the link in the description. As you guys know, they have been a big supporter of this channel, so if this is something that you struggle with, absolutely check them out and see if Fume works for you. Now I open the floor to all of you. What do you all think? Are you on my side of this issue, where you think, yep, I am so glad to see that this issue is also falling in a heap, just like many of the other components of the trans movement? Do you think that it's terrible that this is happening, that it is discriminatory against trans people and they deserve to be in the sports that they want to play? Do you think this is overall a good thing? Is it a bad thing? Do you think that female athletes need to speak up more and more if they want to see this issue accelerated more and more? What do you think of California being sued? What do you think of the Trump administration going so hard on this issue with the other states? Is that good? Is that bad? And what do you generally make of this issue overall? As always, if you have made it this far in the video, congratulations. I always like having you along for the full ride. If you are new here and you're not subscribed to the channel and you would like to see more of me and more of this kind of content, feel free to subscribe, as well as leaving this video a like and a comment, because I do read the majority of them and I really like hearing your feedback. Of course, I hope you wonderful little chickadees make good choices, stay safe, and don't do anything silly that I wouldn't do, and I will see your wonderful pretty faces in the next video.
Yeah, I just hope that as society as a whole, at least in my lifetime, I hope we come back to our rational thinking and we come back down to reality and just stop trying to pander to people who are trying to live in a fantasy world that does not work on logic. But I don't know if it will happen, but it's nice to see, you know, it's happening in some areas. But I think as a whole, it needs to come back to reality. Well, that is the end of this video. I hope you all enjoyed it. If you did, please make sure to give a like and subscribe. I post videos 3 to 5 days a week here. I also post videos over on my other channel for gaming as well, so please make sure to give that a look-see, see if you enjoy that as well. I also stream anywhere from 3 to 5 days a week as well. Links to all my social medias will be on my YouTube page. And with that being said, I hope you all have a wonderful rest of your day, and I will see you all in the next video. Bye-bye.